Hello everyone, welcome back to Banners of Ruin. Last time we got started with our weasel and our wolf friends here, went over the basics of the mechanics and started on through the outer districts. And here we are presented with another decision. We can go to the crossroads. This will clear the street to this depth, which means that all of the cards in the right two columns will be rendered to be 9, and then we move forward in an equal pacing. We can go to find a hidden gem. We gain a random upgrade token, or we can buy some cards. And if we take the hidden gem or the juggler, then these numbers will go down to 9 and 11 respectively, because these are costing 1 on the counter. Whereas Crossroads is just going to remain until we reach Crossroads on all of the cards here. So let's take a hidden gem. Restore 5 vitality. So we can apply this to a card, and whenever we play that card, we gain 5 vitality. So the simplest option here is to put that onto a card that we are effectively always going to want to play, and isn't going to be limited to one hero rather than another. So I think putting it on yellow powder will be just fine, because that's area of effect. We're likely to want to always play it, especially over something like a strike, which only hits one person. So we'll put that there. You'll see that yellow powder has now disappeared from this menu, but if we toggle this here, we can see all of the cards with gems within them. So we can close out of that menu, and now we have Crossroads, and off-duty guards. These silly louts reek of booze and other wicked activities. Leave them on their own devices and they'll probably pass out, but you could brush them aside if needed. On expiring, spawns drunken guards. So if we don't deal with it, it will spawn the drunken guards, which is a different encounter. However, if we go to the crossroads, it's also going to get rid of the off-duty guards. So at this point, it doesn't really matter too much, but we do get the opportunity to see what is behind this card on timer counter number 10. There may be something here that benefits us. A heavy patrol. So this is a slightly more deadly combat, I believe. We can enter this, or we can skip it by going to the crossroads and skipping the encounter entirely. Now, in my first couple of runs, I tended to try and skip encounters where I could, but I think it's more valuable to take as many combats as we can, because that's going to lead to more experience, which is going to put us into a higher level and a greater position to win in the later stages. So let's try this heavy patrol. So here's our first instance of having 4 enemies across 2 ranks. As ever, we go first. So let's see, what can we do here? We're being attacked in 3 different ways. So a direct attack against Islington, a sweeping attack, and a direct attack against Kesselmead. Fortunately, we are able to use our battering ram to deal 6 damage and push an opponent to the back rank. So this means that one of these 2 enemies could be pushed behind them, and then they will not be attacking this turn because they are not on the rank with the big red line. So let's do that. And since these 2 militia spearmen are exactly the same, it doesn't impact too much whichever one we hit. And now we want to figure out how to spend the rest of our 5 energy. These cards altogether add up to 5, so we want to make sure that we're spending all of them rather than accidentally getting ourselves into a spot where each character only has 1 energy left for spending the 2 energy card. And since this gives us 15 defense and then stops us from playing any further cards, I think we're just going to apply that to Islington with their last 2 mana, and then Kesselmead can play our remaining 3 cards. Deal 6 damage if active character is in the front rank +4. We'll do that against this weaker guy. Strike here for 5. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do enough damage to kill them, but next turn that shouldn't be a problem. So the guy in the middle strikes us both. This guy strikes Kesselmead. We now have 1 defense left. Let's see what our options are. So unfortunately, from the back, we can't kick somebody forward. And if we were to kick one of these people at the front back, they would then gain an attack action because they would be on the highlighted rank. Let's see who these guys are attacking. They are both attacking Islington, and deals 8 damage, applies 1 winded. So Islington's next turn, they're going to have fewer energy to spend, and they're currently being attacked for 16, which we do have, so it's not too urgent that we attack them. But what we can do here with Kesselmead, deal 12 damage and move or swap an opponent to a new position. So instead what we can do is we can attack this bowman for 12, and we can move them to this front rank here. Now that will swap our positions, but it also means that this bowman is no longer making an attack against us because they're not in the attacking rank. We just have this spearman to deal with. Now the spearman is dealing 8 damage to Kesselmead, so with Islington here we can apply 15 defense to Kesselmead. Now they're not going to be injured. As for what to do with our remaining energy, we'll gain 5 defense there, and we'll give Kesselmead 3 charge by discarding our kick. Now the entirety of the front rank is attacking us, so we should definitely kill this malicious spearman in the simplest way we can, and that is going to be to attack the entire rank with our 8 damage longsword. We certainly want to kill this bowman as well, and I think our best way to do that is going to be spawning 3 shivs, concealed blades even, and then it's just this guy attacking Kesselmead for 12. So if we give them 10, we can spawn cover, give 5 over here for free, and then we'll attack with our remaining energy. Put some poison over there at the back, and we can even attack for a little bit more using one of the concealed blades, using Islington's power to play another character's talents. So they die for 8. They pass their turn because there's nothing in that rank. Now Islington is currently down 4 HP, so we can throw the yellow powder. This will do 5 damage, apply 5 crippled, and heal them for 5 since we put the vitality token on. Then the rest of our turn seems simple enough. We get 94 florins, we gain a card. Remove all winded. For every stack removed, gain 3 restoration. Apply 3 marked. When a character dies, stacks of vulnerability equal to marked are applied to members of their party. Ticks down by 1 each turn. If there are more than 1 race on the rank, apply overwhelm as well. For every stack that is on the character, for every stack of overwhelm on a character, they receive 25% more damage from attacks. All overwhelm is removed at the start of their next turn. Or for 0 mana, we can play No Mercy, deal 6 damage to the opponent with the lowest vitality. I think here, Tensions is going to be great. It's free. We can make vulnerable appear on our foes. And here we find a great sword. It's 2-handed, 12 damage, attacks all on all ranks, which is like a long sword, except instead of costing 2, it costs 3. And a warhammer. This costs 2 and is a 2-handed weapon. 13 damage, apply 2 vulnerable and 2 bleeding. If the target is already vulnerable, apply 2 overwhelm. So I think we're going to swap that for the big sword. We're going to lose some of our AoE, which is a shame, but I think the overwhelm is going to be really good in the long term. So now we're at the crossroads. All of those events are the same. We select that and it kind of resets everything to an equal level, and typically afterwards you would expect a fight. So what we do have here is, whilst they're all just described as combats, this one here has a skull and red swords through it. So I think this is a slightly harder combat, meaning we'd be likely to get better rewards or more experience. And I don't see right now why we wouldn't do that. You'll see that we're also on 1050 XP and we level up at 1100, so that's surely going to happen very soon. So we've got 5 foes here. We do have our new Warhammer. Apply vulnerable and bleeding. If they are already vulnerable, apply 2 more. We have more bleeding. We have crippled and we have kick. So a lot of options here. In all, we have 7 energies worth of cards in our hand, but we have 8 in our hand. We only have 7 between us, so we're not going to be able to play it all, unfortunately, as much as I would like to. At the front rank here, we have dealing 8 damage to Kesselmead, 10 damage to Kesselmead, and 8 damage to Kesselmead. So I definitely want to remove some of that, and the easiest way to do so is probably going to be kicking the guy at the front back. And so I think the first thing to do is apply some vulnerable. And then we're going to spend the last 2 to kick them back. So we want to have the other guy, Kesselmead, apply yellow powder. It's going to do 5 damage and apply 5 crippled, so that when Islington kicks them, they take 5 damage from moving while crippled. With our last 2 mana over here, we can apply 6 times 2 damage and apply 5 bleeding. I think I would rather attack somebody in the back so that next turn we have a higher chance of killing them. Although, that said, 6 times 2 is 12 and 5 bleeding is 5, which is 17. So actually, we can kill one of these guys immediately. So now it's gone from the front rank to our turn, and then it will be the back rank, which will be when the bleeding and stuff will occur. So tension, apply 3 marked to target enemy. Oh, that applies it to the whole rank? That's incredible. And is there more than one race on that rank? Well, we can see bears and we can see weasels, so that's going to be yes. So let's do that immediately for free. So now all of our damage will deal 125% this turn, and if they get killed, it will apply vulnerable to everybody else in the party. So we should definitely work on killing at least one of them. So control here will move somebody for 12 damage, and right now they have 2 characters with 12 damage, and I think we can swap them both. So we killed the first guy, but we were still able to move the guy who was crippled into that spot. Now, that does mean they're going to have an opportunity to attack us, which might not have been the wisest move, but we did do 4 damage in the process. And then between us, they're dead. That's nice. Battering ram. Deal 6 damage, push opponent back. If occupied, switch their positions. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do enough damage here, I believe, to take either of these guys out. But they are attacking different foes each, which is good because we only have 6 HP each. Or 6 shield, excuse me. Now, the front rank is going and they have nothing to do, so we can just attack them in our own time here. Let's make some extra shivs. They die from bleeding. And this guy on this side should die very soon. Incredibly soon. So we've taken a tiny slither of damage each, but we're now level 3. We can gain a card. Deal damage equal to stacks of that. Deal weapon damage plus 8, but that costs 3. Or deal rush again. Let's see if we can get this crippled thing to work. We found some more equipment. A Expert Bow spawns 2 rapid fire. Deal 5 times 2 damage and banish. Or a Notched Sword, deal 8 damage. Now we're going to keep what we've got, thank you ever so much. Now we can level up to level 3. So this is slightly different. Instead of adding a talent over here, instead we get to pick a perk. So we can choose a passive. Stoic, whenever this character plays a card costing will or uses their ability, they gain 10 health. That's kind of incredible. At the start of their turn, if this character has no allies on their rank, they gain 15 defense and 1 stamina. Or poison. On turn 9, double the stacks of all poison on opponents. Now, we only have 1 tiny poison dealing card, so I think Pestilent is not the ideal choice. Whenever this character plays a card costing will or using their ability, they gain 10 vitality. I think Stoic is what we want here because we're going to use our will fairly often in creating those concealed blades, and in fact with that in place I'm going to increase our will here to 2. Then for our wolf, at the start of their turn, if this character has any will, they draw 1 card. Whenever this character takes damage from bleeding, they gain 1 will. When you break your opponent's shield, apply 1 shield. When you break an opponent's shield, apply 1 shield to that opponent. That seems terrible, and I don't understand why it would be beneficial, but there must be some kind of benefit to it. But I'm going to take Patient, whenever this character has will, draw an extra card. And we have 1 will, and we have a card that gains another will, so I think for us, we're just going to take the stamina. So, we have a 3 cost, a 2 cost, and a 1 cost experience. A heavy patrol to enter a difficult combat. Fight or flight to enter an elite combat. So you see this one has the symbol at the top denoting it's slightly more difficult. This one states it's specifically an elite combat. Or hesitation. If we hesitate and do not do this, then we'll take 5 damage when it passes. And since this is the lowest number compared to the other 2, we can do this, avoid the damage, and then these will turn to 2 and 1 respectively. And now we have another option, execute. You dispatch the militia guards with ease, however 1 mouse is left begging at your feet for his life. Well, let's see what we want to do about that. You meander through the narrow passages of the city when you hear a command from behind. Halt! What's your business? You and your men take down the guards in swift response with ease. 1 mouse remains, trips and falls back into the corner. Please have mercy, I was just doing my job. What should we do? So we can execute them, which will ruin a card. If you ruin a card during a fight, that card is only ruined during that fight. If we ruin a card out here in events, that card is ruined permanently. And what a ruined card does is it stays a playable card that might have some benefit, but it also gains a negative feature. So it might be instead of do 5 damage, do 6 damage, but take 2 damage to yourself at the same time. So let's gamble here and see a random outcome. You leave the mouse who scurries off in the other direction. A short while later, he then appears in your path. This time was with more friends. There they are, get them. Well, that's what we get for letting somebody get away, I suppose. And what's really amusing is none of these 5 foes are even mice. So we have attack against Kesselmead, and attack against Kesselmead. So obviously the very first thing that we're going to want to do is yellow powder and apply crippled and then kick somebody to the back. So that's simple enough. Or we could even battering ram them. So let's start with that and apply the crippled. Let's kick them back. They take 5 damage from the cripple. And then we can deal 6 damage, push opponent to back rank if occupied, switch positions. So they're going to shoot somebody next time, but we don't know who. And they're doing it for 8 damage. This guy is also doing it for 8 damage. but we can do 5 extra damage by pushing them back. They have 6 left. If we strike for 5, we can create some blades. We heal from 37 back up to 40 HP. That one can be left to die. Now, we don't currently need the extra shielding, so we will discard a card. And that gives us 3 charge. That means that this, instead of dealing 2, will deal 5 damage and 3 bleeding. I think I would rather hit the archer. Then that's all our energy spent. We are, of course, drawing 1 extra card thanks to Islington currently having Will. Now, the back rank is attempting to attack us. We are getting shot and getting hit for 10, both against Kesselmead. So what we can do is just withdraw Kesselmead to another area and he will not be hit, which is wonderful. Let's do that. And then we definitely want to hit someone with our Warhammer. 13 damage and 2 bleeding. Now these guys aren't actually... Oh, the archer can still hit us, of course, because they can shoot over the rank. So let's just axe them right away. 6 times 2 is a cheaper way of killing them, and that means we can still attack with our sharpened steel, dealing weapon damage of 13, because that's the equivalent of his Warhammer's damage, and adding 4 bleeding. So let's do that against this spearman. They will die next turn. And here we can... let's just rush this guy. So we evaded attack there, which is always wonderful. This one is going to die from the 4 bleeding on their 4 HP, so we just have to worry about the bowman for now. We can attack from the front rank for 10. That leaves 2 bleeding against 1 health, so they're dealt with. We can Deadly Harvest against the guy with 4 crippled. That will deal 4 damage there. We'll put poison on them. And we may as well gain a bunch. Excuse you? Why can't I play guard? Oh, because we pacified ourselves, of course. So they die, their turn is skipped, back to attacking that back rank. We will put tensions on because we can. We can attack them, move them forward. They are now no longer attacking us this turn because they're not in the rank with the big red line. And then we can just wreck them. Gain 15, enter pacify, deal 8 damage, gain 2 preparation. Brace. Gain 1 anticipation, increase the stamina cost of this card by 1 this combat. The next incoming damage to this character is reduced to 0. That's really good. I'm taking that. So we have combat, we have courage, a chance to improve, or heavy patrol. Let's take a chance to improve. Some enders are hot on your tail. You turn a corner to find a seemingly dead end. Islington yells, "Over here, a hatch." Bah! The cursing thing is sealed. Islington can gain 1 stamina and lose 10 vitality, or we can enter combat. Now, if this were Kesselmead, it would be simple, because Kesselmead gains vitality whenever they spend will or use their special power. But I think 10 is just too much to be losing when you only have 40 total. So it looks like we're going to enter a combat. Brace ourselves against the guards that are approaching. Now these guys have a lot more armor to get through. And we have 2 attacks against Castlemead, 1 against Islington. Fortunately, we do have Battering Ram and Kick available to us, so we can actually negate 2 of these attacks immediately. And so let's take the one dealing 12, and what we're going to do is we're going to kick this guy, we're going to Battering Ram this guy. So now it's only Islington being attacked by the Ender Guardsman. And rather than taking 6 damage from 6 defense against 12 attack, I'm going to have them brace. So the next incoming damage is reduced to 0. Then we can do whatever we want over here. Let's withdraw. This gains 5 defense, but we do not have to move. We can stay in the position we're in, and then let's discard a card, gain 3 charge for next turn, and leave it there. So our anticipation is gone, but fortunately that's the only attack we had to endure that turn. Back here we're being attacked for 8 in 2 spots. Fortunately we have 19 defense, so that's not going to be a problem. So apply 13 damage, 2 vulnerable and 2 bleeding. If they are already vulnerable, add 2 overwhelm. I think I'm just going to attack the guardsmen and try and deal with their upcoming turn rather than the ones at the back. What I will do though is spend 1 mana to put 3 poison on the guy with the most health and shield so that we can tick that up. That's going to damage them. I think it's going to directly impact their health rather than dealing damage to their shield, but we'll double check that in a moment. And then we can rounded shield for ourselves, give our ally some extra defense. Okay, the poison does do damage to shields first. It doesn't penetrate through shields. We'll see if we're not going to see if bleeding's going to do the same, because we're going to probably take out those 5 shield now. Unfortunately, there's only 1 species, 1 race on that rank, so we're not going to gain full benefit. But we will have Islington do this because they don't have another way to heal. We'll put tension back there as well. And Castlemead still has that 3 charge, so this will do 4 times 3 damage. 5 times 3 even. Because of the vulnerable they have. And now we just have 3 guard cards to defend between us. We'll put 2 there. And 1 here. Okay, what have we got? We have some control, so if we want to move somebody and deal damage to them by dealing with their crippled, we certainly can. So let's do that with this one at the back, who is not poisoned. No, let's move the poisoned one. We swap places, that's fine. We'll put more bleeding on here. Who's attacking us now? We need the 15 defense. And then we'll strike for 10, 5. These guys are going to keep defending themselves over progressive turns, which is going to make things more difficult. Brace has got more expensive because it would be OP if it was just cheap to play repeatedly. Otherwise, a fairly simple looking hand. Just going all in really over there. Let's give ourselves 3 of these. So that's 13 damage, and they're going to take 7 from bleeding and poison, 10 from bleeding and poison, overwhelm. Oh, of course, yeah. They were still taking damage. They have to wait until their turn occurs before they take damage from the bleeding and the poison. Over here, let's brace. We've got the extra energy to spare. Castlemead is hit for 12. Our armor keeps us going. And this guy is going to deal 18 damage and gain 10 defense, which is unideal. So let's put that there. Then we can move them up so that they do not get to take a turn. We'll put poison on the one with the higher health, because that can spend more time there ticking up. Quick hands into a lovely warhammer. That is 10 health against 12 bleeding. They'll die next turn, so we can focus anything else over the other side. Free defense for everybody. Back rank turn is skipped. Up here, it's probably going to be a fairly simple turn. You're dying already. More vulnerable. We'll kick you. No, we won't. We'll batter you for 6. They take damage from their cripple. Then here, weapon damage plus bleeding. More damage. More defense. And things are going really smoothly. We've got a good thing going. What I can't figure out is I thought we had the card that every time we played it, it got a little bit better. But apparently I didn't select that. And then when we were presented it again a second time, I didn't take it the second time because I thought I'd taken it the first time. So that's rather annoying. I'm going to take another brace. I think that is OP, especially in the bigger fights later on. So we're down to 5, 4, not too many remaining encounters on this street, but we're going to call things there. Join me next time where we will finish up the outer districts and find the first mini-boss in this campaign. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you're enjoying the series, please do consider subscribing or hitting that like button. If you have any questions or comments, throw them down below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.